Today we're going to look at a sticky 620 idler arms. So the stock 620 idler arm has a few problems. The way it works is there is a couple bronze bushings in here that these ride on, and then this threads on this and then into this housing. So when this turns, you're actually threading this in and out. So there's, between the bronze bushings and these threads, there's a lot of drag. And then, I don't know if you can hear that. And then the second issue with it is it bolts across the load path. So if you can see that coming up and down, that's essentially happening with only two bolts holding it. It allows it to pivot on there, so all that friction that binds this up allows it to move like that. My new design uses roller bearings. And thrust washers to take up all the load and keep it spinning. So I'll be right back. So with the roller bearings, this thing spins free. So we're gonna put this together. Go ahead and press these in. Alright, I got the bearings pressed in. Looking pretty good. So while I assemble this, I want to thank a couple people. First is Troy Ermish. He did a 510 version of this. It's not full roller, but he did use some thrust washers, which gave me the idea for all of this. And then Fred Wrench for doing a bit of testing and fit check for me. And Kyle Lipple for doing a bit of the same, helping me out. He actually helped me figure out this idea. Anyway, I'm gonna put this guy together. So I'm gonna start with the fat end thrust washer. Before we can put that in, we need, these are 3D printed, I wouldn't call them seals, more grease keeper inners. They fit up just like that. When you're putting them together in the final usage, they'll want to be stuck on there with some silicone or right stuff or something. And then now we can put this in. And then the thrust bearings on the opposite end, the small end. And then our main load washer out here. And then we will put on our lock nut. Here's the critical part where we set our preload, which is not very much. We're going to do this by hand because you don't want to overload those thrust bearings. And you're basically just, so when this is loose, there'll be some end play. You're just getting rid of the end play. It should spin freely and not have any end play in it at all. Alright. Put the separation washer on. And before we go and full torque that, which we're not going to do. This is for demonstration purposes. Now we can tighten that up so that's tight now and not going anywhere. But for double assurances, well, basically what we'll do is at the final setup, set that, give that a bit of a torque on there, and then everything should stay there forever or until it needs rebuilt. Which hopefully it doesn't very often. Grease fitting. Alright. Okay, so now a comparison of these two. So let's take that one here. Let's take that one here. I think my point is clear here. Yeah, and then because we're going to be clamped crossways, you're not going to get any of that. In fact, you don't get any of that on mine. You can see, I hope that shows up. Alright, I'm going to install this loosely for demonstration purposes. So to connect the top and bottom, we got this strap. It's got a countersink. And then this is to spread the gap across the frame. Probably should put the top one in first. Put the top one in first. Make it a little easier on us. The countersink bolt goes to the bottom. can imagine all the bolts tight. You can imagine all the bolts tight. Now there's 4 bolts holding this, clamping it to the frame. Nice and sturdy. And then, again, no friction, only the roller bearing. And on the outside, you'll see the countersink bolt that's on the bottom, sway bar. There's the mount. It'll, you know, comes right here. There we go. Dave, all your parts are ready.